Hey guys, welcome to this training on the 100. Today we're going to look at cardio and fitness in the sense of cardiovascular training. This forms one of the three parts that we've previously spoken about in terms of overall health and fitness in terms of what you do with Nathan Lee training. The first thing we want to start with is probably one of the most common misconceptions that we get about cardiovascular training. That is that cardio is for fat loss. It isn't. The reason for this is because the amount of output that you would need to elicit fat loss from purely cardiovascular training is insane, almost impossible. We're talking kind of marathons weekly, basically a lot of cardio to even have a slight dent on the amount of calories that we would normally consume, which is compounded by the fact that the more you work, i.e. the more cardio you were to do, the more calories you would be wanting to take on. People, when they try and lose body fat, typically ramp their cardio up to such an insane level that it can sometimes have a negative impact on their energy balance. Now, how this works is they work so hard doing cardiovascular work that they end up creating such a hunger that they then take on extra calories, whereas it would be much easier to create a calorie deficit through careful management of food and making sure that you don't get too hungry. So if cardio is not for fat loss, what is it that we use it for, and why is it still such a fundamental part of what we try and achieve, what we try and get you to do, what we try and get you to enjoy ultimately? Well, a lot of it is all about that. It's all about feeling good. So first and foremost, being cardiovascularly fit is much more likely to make you feel good. The actual training itself will give you a feel good feeling. Obviously, we get that endorphin hit when we complete lots of different types of exercise, cardio included. It's really about leaning into that and enjoying the process. So like I said, if we can enjoy cardio work, it is fantastic because it will benefit you in many different ways. It will help your journey, not necessarily just for fat loss, but for just feeling good, working out, enjoying everything that you're doing. That's more mentally focused, and obviously there are tons of extra mental benefits to cardiovascular training, but we're going to have a little talk about some of the more physical benefits that are absolutely key, especially as we're getting older. Firstly, it's going to have a massively positive impact on your heart health. You can literally Google cardio effects on heart health and you will get a long list of different diseases that you are less likely to get when you partake in regular cardiovascular training. It really does make your ticker just function a lot better and leave you a lot less likely to suffer with any of the more common heart problems that you'll experience as you get older, as you kind of go into your 40s, 50s, 60s and beyond as well. Alongside that, we also have massive benefits for our lungs and our respiratory system, which all combine together to give us a much lesser chance of some really serious respiratory problems, heart problems, potential breathing issues. So it is really worth ensuring that you try and maintain cardiovascular training in some sense so that you reap all of these physiological benefits long term, forever, period. What we're essentially looking for is to exceed your day-to-day requirements with the cardiovascular training that you use. What this means is we want to be able to put you through training that outdoes the needs that you typically face day to day, so that you can deal with it better. You will find it easier to kind of get up the stairs. You'll find it easier to walk into town. We're looking to try and give you the tools to make day-to-day life as comfortable as possible and as efficient as possible. Not only will this make you feel better, but you'll just also perform better, feel more healthy, be able to do more day to day, and you'll reap all the benefits of having a good cardiovascular system. One of the more common questions around CV training is, do you do long, slow distance training like long runs north of 30, 35, 40 minutes? Or do we do short bursts of intense exercise like HIIT training? Now, these areas will typically look to impact different energy systems, which is another training for another day. We can reap the benefits from whatever you like to do. It is really down to your preference and how you'd like to approach it. So if you're a person who gets a little bit sicky if you try HIIT, you might want to go for the long distance style stuff. If you haven't got the time, can't be bothered to do the long distance stuff, you might want to do short, sharp, cardiovascular kind of HIIT training. But the most important thing is that you have it in your process so that you get some form of cardiovascular training in and you reap the benefits for it. Now, in terms of how it's typically set up within Nathan Lee Training, is we try and include other areas of your fitness whilst you do your cardio. So for example, if you have ever done an EMOM or an AMRAP, we will typically take the functional based movements that we have, combine it into what is like a cardio setting, i.e. we're going to be doing it for a longer period of time. We're going to stress the cardiovascular system and create some CV training alongside the functional training to make it more efficient and really to keep you benefiting in both areas. It's just another way of doing it. It isn't absolutely necessary, but for me personally, I find it's really efficient. You get to practice both the functional stuff under stress as opposed to going really heavy where we might push your weight up on the reps. We're questioning here your form potentially or your ability to maintain posture whilst also then working on your CV system. You're getting more bang for your buck. But again, for me, it comes down to the enjoyment factor more than anything. I have always found that weights combined with cardio makes it a much more enjoyable experience. It's more tangible in terms of being able to increase the weights that you do, feeling more comfortable with the work that you're doing, and generally feeling your cardiovascular health improve. And if we can spend less time getting super sweaty and still getting the benefits, I always think that's going to be a massive win. The same as we spoke about before with the functionality side of things and the strength training, it is no good on its own, cardiovascular. It's part of this bigger ecosystem, so we must provide a balance, make sure that we have a good combination of strength training, cardiovascular based work, and we also have the good general lifestyle that all forms this big part of keeping you working towards your goals, keeping fat loss going, keeping you nice and healthy, and as we've said many times before, keeping you in control and happy with your process.